Alice, my column is starting to break around the world.
Oh, wow. Should I read a few lines aloud for everybody?
Sure. Do you have it?
No, but I can find it. Hang on. Yes. So I
wrote the column for Michael Graham's company, Inside Sources, and they provide a lot of these they're kind of syndicated throughout the world, Alice, and so it's been picked up as we go. It's really a 4th of July thing, so it'll be picked up by a couple people so far, but it's going to be picked up in the next few days. It's total like right on topic kicker column that really you'd be foolish not to run, and it's also quite a talker. I haven't read the sober-minded point, but I provide the counterpoint.
So the counterpoint is, forgive us, England, we shouldn't have won.
Right.
It is once
just
again
been a Tom Shattuck
talking point for years.
Correct. Being a loyalist. Correct. Now, there are caveats that need to be said at some point, because this was before England became an Islamic state. But
it is time once again to celebrate the red, white, and blue. Of course, by that I mean the Union Jack, the flag of the United Kingdom, our rightful flag. The American Revolution was successful only because the ledger looked ugly in London, and as a matter of pragmatism, the project had to end. And what a shame it is.
Am I on TV?
We'd be better under the crown. So you can read, yes, you're on the TV. Okay, so you can read more of that at various Inside Sources papers. The one that I see it on right now is in the Daily Courier, which I don't know.
Everybody reads the Daily Courier, and you should. Subscribe.
I don't know where this is, but anyway, if you search "Forgive Us, England, we shouldn't have won," it does come up, and you can find it. And I presume
Let me
it will
just put
be
it
in
this
other.
way: there's only one column like it, right, in the country right now.
Tim in Canton writes, "Congrats, Tom will be picked up by bay windows and inside closets."
It is. It's funny because I worry, Alice, if like, I'm not a politician, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm afraid that I'm providing cover for the Islamofascists in New York.
How so?
Because he's not saying this.
I'm confused. I don't get it.
Because I'm saying something that's somewhat fiery and controversial.
Yeah.
Do you know the Islamofascists in New York? Zorhan Manmadi, Ram Freddy?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what, you think that people are going to be reading your column and they'll forget about him? I'm confused with what. I
exactly
don't think that's going to happen.
And I begin my ascent. Imagine that, huge in England. You know that there's a silent majority of, what were they called? Tories in America who have been silent over the past 300 years, just waiting. And then, of course, my good old House of Lords in England, they finally see this beacon.
I don't think the Shattocks were ever in the House of Lords.
How do you know? You're not privy to a lot of things. We don't believe in the full rights of citizen, what's that called? What's that? Birthright citizenship for women. Important conversations are being had. Okay, speaking of birthright citizenship, we'll go through this column. No, we won't. We'll see.
We don't have to blow by blow to your column.
But we don't have to blow by blow to the column, but please do click on it if you'd like to. But I can tell you something. As a talk radio producer, if I caught this column in my eye, I would be, holy frig, yes. This is excellent. Because really, all you have to do is read it and then give out the phone number. Or people are going to say,
angry people will call you.
Angry people will call me. There's also the remote possibility, Alice, that no one cares. It should be more consistent with my career. All right, so this is great. So you haven't heard this, Alice. I was listening to This Week with Jonathan Carl. It's the normal stuff. Trump had essentially a good week, and did he really blow up all the stuff? There's uranium running loose. Blah 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 blah. The big beautiful bill is still being worked on, but the Senate, J.D. Vance kind of passed it, but there's a delay.
There's
now,
an extra thing they have to do now because this is a reconciliation
Democrats
process,
are doing some delay thing, and then so they're going to have to really vote on it again.
My favorite was Chris Murphy said, so the Democrats are making them read the whole bill out loud. There's like a provision where you can make, and it's 950 pages, so they're going to be there like 12 hours all listening to it be read aloud. Which, I mean, like, theoretically is a good thing, but this is obviously just a stalling tactic by them to me. But then Chris Murphy was on Meet the Press today, and he goes, they're going to pass this in the dead of night. I'm like, I'm sure they, too, would prefer to pass it during the day-to-day, like normal people, but you're the ones making them, delaying the whole thing 12 hours. So,
well,
in
and
the
that's
dead
the
of
Democrats.
night.
The whole thing is that they're cutting people off of Medicaid. This is the left saying, so they're going to kill millions of Americans by taking their Medicaid away, and they're going to give that savings to billionaires. And that's as quick and easy as this slogan is for the left.
And this is such a dumb. Part of me is so just bored by this type of politics. Like, this bill is going to pass. It's not going to be a big deal. Nothing really different is going to happen. All the people, and it's funny because I was seeing today a bunch of people raising the points about net neutrality, because a few years ago was the time, I think in 2018, when everybody wigged out and said if Ajit Pai at the FCC got rid of net neutrality, that everyone was going to die and the internet as we know it was going to be over. And people were retweeting some tweets from the Democrats being like, your internet will stop forever. You'll be reading things one word at a time if the Republicans kill net neutrality. And they killed net neutrality and like nothing happened and life just went on and nobody even remembers net neutrality and the whole thing. So every time they go to pass a freaking budget, we do this song and dance and they drag in people who are on Medicaid and cry about it and yell at us and complain, and like nothing ever changes. If anything, the problem with this bill is that it doesn't do anything really drastic to anything. It doesn't make the DOGE cuts permanent. It does continue deficit spending at crazy levels, which I know Mark Wade Mullins said on Meet the Press today that this is the biggest decrease in the deficit. I forget how he put it, some lawyerly way that I'd have to look up exactly what he means, but and the problem that like Rand Paul, one of the reasons why Rand Paul is one of the votes against it is because this doesn't really do anything to reduce the size of government or anything. And Mark Wade Mullins gave this crazy statistic today, which was that 70 million people in this country are on Medicaid.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is that not mind-boggling? It's like 1 out of every 4 people in the country is on Medicaid. It's obviously unsustainable. So, kicking off, making sure that a bunch of the people who are on it have a 20-hour-a-week work requirement if they're able-bodied and don't have dependents.
Another stat that was thrown out this weekend, Alice, is that the Medicaid enrollment doubled in the last 5 years. Doubled in 5 years.
Yeah. Well, and
so that's a problem.
The thing about it is that the way that Obamacare worked, and fundamentally, we all talk about like the kids on insurance until 26 and the pre-existing conditions, and those things have wrought a lot of havoc in the insurance industry on their own. One of the biggest impacts of Obamacare was allowing able-bodied adults without dependents to go onto Medicaid rolls. And Medicaid programs are managed by the states. So in order to do this and not have the states absolutely freak out, because the way it works is states are supposed to pay 1% of the Medicaid costs and the federal government's supposed to pay 1% of the Medicaid costs. So the only way, this would obviously be this would be political suicide, because it would blow up every state budget in the country if you just invited able-bodied adults onto Medicaid and made the states pay the same amount. But so what they did was they said, okay, you guys have to enroll able-bodied adults into Medicaid, but we're going to cover like 90-something% of the cost of it, a way higher percent than we cover for disabled people, for poor people, for like pregnant women and children who can't work. The people that Medicaid's meant for, Obamacare essentially made a huge incentive to put able-bodied people on instead of them. And so there was the Medicaid expansion, as it was called, has increased the level of dependency on Medicaid to an insane level. And it's such a problem. I mean, the idea that a quarter of the country is on Medicaid is nuts. The idea that we're putting able-bodied people on Medicaid, and especially that we're putting able-bodied people on Medicaid who refuse to get a job, is nuts. So the idea that that's like some kind of cruel cut, like if we don't have the seriousness to have that conversation, then like we're obviously so screwed fiscally as a country, because there's no way we can dig our way out of this financial hole that we're in. If we can't talk about having able-bodied adults have to work 20 hours a week to qualify for health care, if that's a political third rail, then we're screwed.
Well, right, because the Democrats will use this every single chance they can to win elections and to fundraise, and without any regard to the fact that we're going over a cliff, and they don't care if we're going over the cliff.
Right. And so, I mean, serious people like Rand Paul, I understand that objection. I also don't know that I believe anything's going to change in Washington either way. This at least, and I haven't read the 950-page bill. There's a bunch of people arguing about silly minutia in it, the way there is every time a stupid, huge bill like this gets passed, which is the only way we find ourselves able to fund our government all the time, because we're an unserious country. But we just keep doing this. It's business as usual. And like, at least this makes the Trump tax cuts permanent. Thank goodness. It keeps the increased child tax credit, and depending where they land between the Senate and House versions, maybe even ups the child tax credit a little bit and indexes it to inflation. These are tax cuts. The Trump tax cuts for the rich, quote unquote, were Trump tax cuts for everybody. You know, 80% of the people in the United States got tax cuts under those 2017 tax cuts. And not only that, the people who didn't, and saying this wasn't always popular in Massachusetts, I had some very rich Republican friends who were not pleased with the SALT caps, because those were a big deal. I think they also raised the SALT cap way back up. I think it's high again, but it expires, so it'll be a fight again another year. All the SALT Democrats and Republicans, all the SALT legislators that fought to get that in there. I mean, it's such an embarrassment. There's no reason we should be letting these states like New York, which now is talking about putting all kinds of new taxes in here. Why should the rest of us have to pay for the Mamdani taxes for socialist New York City, because he's going to raise taxes on rich people there and they get to then write it off their federal taxes? Like, what? How is that a thing? How come the rest of us have to pick up the tab for his socialist tax policies? I actually think that despite it's not popular in states like Massachusetts, obviously people in Massachusetts want to be able to write off our stupid high Massachusetts taxes federally.
Of course.
But it's really it really, at the end of the day, empowers blue states to be able to raise taxes much more than they would be able to otherwise. The fact that you can write off your state taxes off of your federal taxes. So, I mean, it should be, out of fairness, it shouldn't be that way, because it forces the rest of the country to like pick up the tab for the blue state policies, which are dumb. But, it's politically, any blue state legislators, it's a suicide mission for them to try and do it, say that.
In case you missed it, I'm going to move on here, okay?
Okay.
In case you missed it, Friday, the Supreme Court came out with few decisions, big decisions. And in the decisions, one of the particular remotes, departs, supplotes, demands, the person who doesn't agree, dissents. One of the particular dissents really stood out.
Oh,
now, this is absolutely astounding. Now, Alice Shattuck and I went through this a couple hours ago on the road from Maine, and to some of this was a dissent for the ages in so many ways. And some of the vocabulary choices, some of the grammar choices, some of the, oh my God, this person's really on the Supreme Court moments really popped. But Alice, I want you to listen to this. Okay? Alice, this is ABC This Week. This is how they describe this dissent. This is Jonathan Karl.
And the dissents here from the liberals were scathing. I mean, Ketanji Brown Jackson signed her dissent instead of the usual, I respectfully dissent. It was something I've never heard before. With deep disillusionment, I dissent.
The language from Justice Jackson especially was just astonishing. She accused the conservatives of, in her words, an existential threat to the rule of law. I mean, just listen to this, John. She said, courts must have the power to order everyone, including the executive, to follow the law, full stop. To conclude otherwise is to endorse the creation of a zone of lawlessness. Justice Barrett pushed back on all that. She said, well, judges have to be restrained too. But just an astonishing disagreement on the Supreme Court about the role of courts. The conservatives say it's their job to police the president, not their job to police the president. The liberals say that's exactly their primary purpose.
All right, sir, there's one thing that both...
Okay, so does that adequately sum up the lead, really, the importance of the story of Judge Ketanji Brown's dissent?
Ketanji Brown Jackson's dissent, which Amy Coney Barrett absolutely skewers.
By the way,
they
used the word astonishing should be used.
So, yes, astonishing should be used. So to sum up, let me give a little bit of context here what this case is about. Basically, this is a case about birthright citizenship in the United States. Is anybody who's born, like, technically on U.S. soil, even if they're just visiting a friend across the border in Canada for tea and they go into labor, like, are they an American citizen now? Okay, that's the question at issue here, right? Is birthright citizenship, like, completely blanket, universal, whatever? Donald Trump did this executive order that said, you know, certain types of people born in the United States aren't birthright aren't citizens due to just having been born here. I think the legal merits of the Trump argument are weak, but somewhat plausible. Like, I think there's a case for some kind of, like, limited controls on birthright citizenship, sure. But I think it's a pretty weak case. I mean, I think the Constitution has pretty much universally been understood this way since the founding. I expect that ultimately the final cases will go in that direction, generally speaking. This really was about injunctions, which are, you know, these lower courts. Trump comes out with the executive order. People sue, states sue, whatever, different groups sue. And the judge looks at it. And this is before the whole, like, case has been heard. This is not talking about the judge's capability to issue a final decision on the case ultimately. But judges have the power, if something seems like it's unfair, to issue an injunction based on how they think the case might go and say, like, you can't enforce this until this case is ultimately decided. And those injunctions have been understood to apply to the whole country. So really what this Supreme Court case is about is, can some judge somewhere, before the case has even been decided, does their decision apply to everyone in the country right now when it's just about an injunction? Like, if a court rules that the law is unconstitutional after hearing the whole case, then that can be used as precedent for other courts to decide that too. And then it could ultimately end up before the Supreme Court. But to issue an injunction to say, like, just while we listen to this, you have to stop this policy, can that apply to everywhere in the country at once? And what the Supreme Court said in this case, 6-3 majority with all the conservatives voting together, was no. An injunction is to provide relief to the actual plaintiff in the actual case. And in this case, some of the plaintiffs are, like, states. So, you know, it could apply to the people in that state. But, like, an injunction is meant to give relief to the person in the case that you're talking about, not just to, like, anyone anywhere. Right? That's not a permanent situation. You can't use an injunction to like cut off nationwide policies before cases even decided. I think we've
satisfied the X's and O's, Alice. Okay. We want to get to the astounding lesson here.
But Ketanji Brown, Amy Coney Barrett wrote the decision, and Justice Jackson heard the dissent. And part of the reason why I went into the X's and O's is because Justice Jackson clearly found the X's and O's to be a big waste of her time. Because this is the opening sentence of this dissent. To hear the majority tell it, this suit raises a mind-numbingly technical query. Blah, blah, blah. She describes the issue.
I also just don't even understand that sentence.
She says, she's saying this lawsuit is like stupid and technical. It's a mind-numbingly technical query. This legalese is a smokescreen.
Legalese. I love that.
Yeah, she's calling the law of the United States mind-numbing legalese.
She should be into legalese, I think, probably.
Probably the people most into mind-numbing legalese and technical queries should be sitting on the Supreme Court of the United States, I would think. She gets into this. I mean, it's really about the power of the courts to, to stop the president from doing stuff before a case is even decided. And as they mentioned in that cut that you did, she does use the phrase full stop in the middle of her thing.
Which is a first, by the way.
And
that we're
that
using
to
full
actually
stop
happen,
now is...
Courts must have the power to order everyone, including the executive, to follow the law. Full stop.
Full stop is not a term that should be in a Supreme Court dissent.
Well, my favorite part
Full stop is just street lingo, meaning we're not having this argument anymore. Shush.
Right.
This is over. There's no more to it. There's no more that needs to be delineated. I don't have to explain any more to you. It's just is. Full stop. It's the talk to the hand version of we're not having this argument, which is not great because she's supposed to be laying down an argument.
Right. Here's another snippet. As I understand the concern in this clash of the respective powers of two branches of government, the majority sees a power grab, but not by a presumably lawless executive choosing to act in a manner that flouts the plain text of the Constitution. Instead, to the majority, the power-hungry actors are ... Wait for it.
Does she type wait for it?
Yeah, it's typed out wait for it. ...
She's
wait
writing a
for
script.
It, ... the district courts. That's what I'm surprised it doesn't say mic drop in here. I mean, honestly, it's incredible. Wait for it. Unbelievable.
Is this like Jasmine Crockett? Did she sit in for her and write this?
Basically, it's terrible.
Wait for it. Like this attitudinal, like what the...
But listen to did you hear what Amy Coney Barrett wrote in her majority opinion? Because they don't, it's not a surprise to them. They read each other's stuff while they're writing it. So listen to the friggin' damage Amy Coney Barrett does here. Justice Jackson skips over that part because analyzing the governing statute involves boring legalese. Post 3. She seeks to answer a far more basic question of enormous practical significance. She says, Justice Jackson would do well to heed her own admonition. Everyone from the president on down is bound by the law. That goes for judges, too.
Oh.
So, yeah. I mean, the thing is this is so embarrassing. I can't believe, the people around her clerks and whatever. I can't believe people let her write this. The other justices. Where's Sotomayor? And Kagan's a serious person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sotomayor is kind of a dummy, but Kagan is a real serious legal person. Did nobody pull her aside and be like, you can't wait for it in a Supreme Court dissent?
Well,
this
right.
Is
we don't
what
do
are we
full
doing?
stop. There's no full stop. You don't dumb down the document. You don't. You're supposed to be the people who set the standards. People will read these dissents someday and cite them. And they're going to have to cite full stop.
Scalia wrote dissents for years and years and years before there was ever a conservative majority on the court. These dissents are important. This is not like a throwaway legal document like I disagree with what the court did. These get used. I mean, the dissents from cases that we think of as being wrong in the past, like Plessy v. Ferguson or whatever, things like that. We come back to them and we consider them to be important legal documents to understand the opposing legal arguments to a thing, because contrary to what the left thinks, the Supreme Court is not just, making up laws on the spot and whatever they say goes. People write decisions that this is why they write the decision in both directions. They have somebody on the court who disagrees write a dissenting opinion so that there is the legal rationale here to be understood by everybody so that we know. But this is too nuanced for everybody. So
yeah, but here's another thing is that she's obviously, first of all, she's certainly a DEI hire. She is.
Well, Trump, Biden went out here and said he wanted to hire a black woman.
And largely so is Sotomayor. And there are plenty. I would contend that there are plenty of Hispanic and black people who would make very great jurists or whatever they're called in the Supreme Court. But they didn't they grabbed an activist, DEI activist, and that's all she knows.
Who thinks the law is boring legalese.
Yeah, full stop. And that's it. So when she says something like this...
You provide a definition for the word woman.
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
She doesn't have the legalese for that.
No.
And she's not, can't provide, well, she just says it actually.
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a
the
biologist.
meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is
By the way, that word work is a big
Also, by the way, no
word.
one's asking you to be a biologist. There are plenty of laws that talk about women.
Well, right. Well, but no, that's all suspended.
Address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide.
Well,
so I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about.
How can she make any decisions on anything if she has to defer to the professional class that pertains to that thing in order for definitions and any kind of truth? Because so I can't do women's stuff because that's not me. That's biologists. They'll make those decisions based on, depending on the case, I can make decisions there that might backfill with something like, you can't do if she has no sense of gravity, that up is up and down is down, if she's not at all calibrated at all in some kind of truth, then we're lost. But she's not, because she's an idiot activist.
Yeah.
She's a dum-dum. And this is why we've got this now, where she's saying full stop. Because she's not playing their game. Yeah, she went to law school, and yeah, she was a lawyer and whatever and all that stuff. But she's not playing that game. She's doing the process game, where everything has to be done through a wokeness. And if you're doing it through a wokeness, which she is, full stop.
Yeah,
legalese,
I'm doing a big, more important query than the boring legalese of this law thing. Then anything's excused. And I think
I don't need to explain it, by the way, anymore. I don't need to provide any more detail of the facts or law that any of my argument is founded in. All I have to tell you is full stop. The time for explaining is over. Full stop.
Yeah.
And that's not good in any profession.
Well, yeah, but we now are at a point where people are so unserious, and that's what's doubly dangerous about this sort of appeal to expertise that the left has been doing, that's left us in this situation with the trans stuff, where, but the experts say, the American Academy of Pediatrics say, all the important organizations are telling us that this is good, settled science, and it's good, and we have to do it. And Fauci said this, and Francis Collins said that, and that must be true because they're really big experts and they know stuff. So that already is bad enough, and we've seen how dangerously that can play out in so many ways. But we're now on top of this sort of deference to expertise. We are elevating a whole bunch of people, and not just Black people by any means. We're elevating a whole bunch of unserious activist people into these expert roles at these institutions that are supposed to be serious. She went to Harvard and got good grades at Harvard Law. Justice Jackson did. I mean, we are setting up a situation, and if you listen to people talk about medical schools, it's the same situation there, where we are filling these schools with wokeness applicants from across, I mean, it's not just about Black people. It's about, like, you know, purple-haired, non-binary people and every other thing, that they're filling up these institutions and the expert class with unserious people who not only have a huge agenda, but also know nothing, don't know anything. They're fundamentally stupid, and it's a problem that goes all the way down into, like, elementary schools, where they're not educating kids, they're not teaching them things. The schools are getting dumbed down more every day. There's so many school districts where they've now, like, gotten rid of algebra 1 in 8th grade because it's too inequitable. As the SAT gets easier every year, the scores get higher, the grades get higher at all these schools. The schools just let in whoever based on what their DEI department is telling them to bring in. And there's been a belief that you can hollow out these institutions and fill them with, seriously, just psychopaths.
Yes, yes.
And that the institution will continue to function the same way, and people will continue to have the same respect for it. And that's just not true. Like, they're hollowing out the entirety of our country. And for some stuff, it doesn't matter. Like, if you run the Audubon Society or whatever, and you hollow it out and fill it with people who are going to do whatever drag bird interpretive dances or whatever.
Yes.
Then, I mean, everyone's life goes on. No one cares. But, like, we can't have all the doctors be like that, and all the institutions of the country be like that, and the people responsible for making planes stay in the sky be like that, and, you know, the bridge engineers be like that. We actually do have some places where we need people to be in charge who know what works. And, you know, there's the colleges in particular are hotbeds of insanity, but they've had a really big role in educating a lot of, like, top scientists and engineers in this country who have kept us at the leading edge of all kinds of industries for decades. And the fact that we're letting that go without a fight, and we're just saying, like, oh, all these places are liberal hellholes and we should just let them all go and burn, like, we actually do need some of this stuff for things. You know, it's a really bad problem, and it's a problem that goes across, you know, massive industries and institutions, that we're going to have really bad problems if we have no institutions left at the end of this.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, you asked a second ago, you said, well, where are her law clerks?
Her clerks are all crazy activists,
of course.
Too. They think it's awesome that she wrote "wait for it" in there.
Oh, yeah. So it's total and utter unseriousness at every part.
But, like, we're going to continue to see more problems if we fill. I mean, like, we're about to find out what happens if you fill the entire government of New York City with unserious, crazy people. Who think we should defund the police?
Well, you're
and
right,
have
but
free grocery stores.
But
and
that's
every
being
other thing.
mainstreamed.
Yeah.
And just look at all these people. Look at all these dumbasses who are going out and getting arrested. Like Jose Padilla, who's now, who's crying about getting arrested. Like, these are all psychotics. These are all total psychotics. And they're acting out. Look, then, of course they've got this psychotic nominee in New York. By the way, did you see this? The nominee, Mount Damney, whatever his name is? Mm-hmm. Have you? I don't know if you've seen this latest video of him. Mm-hmm. This is him sitting in Central Park or some park, eating a rice dish with his hands.
So the third holy grail of taboos in American politics, you have socialism, you have Islam, and then you have Palestine. And you are really going for the trifecta.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Tell me,
you got another
why is
handful
Palestine
of rice.
a part of your politics?
So when you grow up as...
Rice is all over his fingers now. Now, I don't know where he's going to wash that off, but friggin' get the frig out of here with this.
Someone especially in the third world, you have a very different understanding of the Palestinian struggle.
Oh, get the frig out of here. Psycho. Absolute psycho. This is him today.
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Right.
I mean, what socialists, we all know this. Everyone in the chat knows this. You and I know this. Anyone who listens to talk radio, what socialists mean when they say we need more equality is that they're going to make your life suck because some bum outside is having a sucky life.
Right.
They're going to make sure that we're all equally miserable and poor. So thank you for that. We'll find out what happens to New York, but I don't know where they go from here.
Well, Allison, we have to do the Chat Chat.
Yeah.
And then we can do
some Patreon show because we have some more things to chat about. But yeah, Chat.
The eating rice with your hands thing. Forgot. We had a guy who, when I was working in radio, you guys who worked in the building, remember who was from somewhere in the greater Pakistan region of the world, who used to wash his feet in the sink. I didn't love that either. He's a nice guy. Nice guy. Somebody, come on. Jesus. But that eating rice, like you gonna touch somebody's hand? Never touch this guy's hand. Ugh. Ugh.
Boy, Tom.
Yes.
Asking Alice between 1 and 100% was the 2020 election stolen, and listening to that answer was like hearing Jake Tapper try to just twist himself into a pretzel over the fact that he just continuously lied about Biden. Man, yeah. Alice.
Yeah.
You absorbed Tom's personality there for a few minutes because, when we're sitting, listening, wanting him to try, please land the plane, Tom.
What?
Please land the plane.
Incorrect.
Boy, man.
Well, I think it's a complicated question.
What else do you believe? Did the moon landing happen? That one you definitely believe, right?
I think the moon landing happened.
Yeah, that one you should have doubts about. I didn't know that. I've known you for quite a while. I've been fairly close to you for quite a while. I had no idea you were a insurrectionist. You believe in a big lie. That's right. That's what that is. Who knew? Do you believe that? Who do you think shot Kennedy?
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Alone?
Yeah.
Wow. I think you're probably out of the majority on that one.
I'm out of the majority on that one. I absolutely am.
By the way, Phil's house. We're going to Phil's house, North Attleboro, in just a few weeks.
Yes.
And if you want to go, it's a little more than half filled, I think. But if you want to go, then email us.
burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll forward your information to Phil so you can RSVP, and we will see you there.
Yeah, be a good time. You get to meet the boy who, my last email to him, I won't give his name out. My last text to him was, don't ever spit on your sister again. I'll let you guess. We'll take wagers. Probably not the one you think, as a matter of fact. Okay.
Hey, Billy from Manchester.
Hey, Billy.
A lifeless Steve Robinson today on that shot of Shattuck.
Oh, that is effing crazy. Steve was great. Steve was absolutely great. Have you heard it?
No, I'm not. I'm behind on my shot of Shattuck.
Steve was cooking with gas, man. He was great.
God.
You know what it is, I think. He's always good. He always gets it, and he's always there in the issues, and he's been a pundit for a long time. But I think that the main wire is about to explode, so in a good way. And so he is got his aim game. He's in fighting shape.
That shot of Shattuck show. Oh my God. It's time. I think I don't know. Something's got to get done. I advise Jerry Callahan, my good friend Jerry Callahan, not to go on this show.
What?
I think it's just a death knell, and I don't. Oh, please, Jerry, if you're listening, don't.
Yeah, I think it was too late for that. Jerry joined us. Joined me Friday. Jerry was great as usual. In a great mood, of course, because he was celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Joe Biden's mind exploding on stage.
So I listened to that whole episode of Bernie Sanders and Joe Rogan.
Hey, replica.
And on some points, Joe Rogan went after him, per se. and gave him a different opinion.
Yeah.
But on a lot of shit, he let Bernie Sanders get away with saying, "Oh, I really didn't see that. I don't know about that." I mean, all lies, of course. I don't know what Rogan can do in all those situations. Obviously, it can't just be a 2-hour hit job.
Yep.
But he obviously loves Bernie Sanders.
Agreed.
And he let him talk a lot of nonsense, I felt. And towards the end of it, he also said, "I would be willing to pay more taxes if I lived in a better country," which I didn't really like that out of Rogan's mouth.
I didn't hear that. I should listen to the whole thing as well. But I'm not surprised with Bernie. He always.
I mean, Joe Rogan's always been a socialist, though. Like, I mean, not socialist,
Well,
but a Bernie bro type of guy, like who's a.
Yeah, what's that called when you want to take care of everybody? He believes he's a
like social safety net. Or
no,
like,
it's a word like alchemist, but it's not alchemist. But it's one for
It's really not alchemist.
that you want to take care of everybody. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But Ruben uses it too.
Altruist?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah,
it's like alchemist. Okay, it's precisely like alchemist.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean.
Doesn't matter. I didn't say it was just like it. It's
doesn't mean what you feel like. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, stay there if you're listening on Patreon. We're gonna do more on the other side for our Patreon members. Full stop. And we appreciate all you guys joining us. If you want to join the Patreon, that's patreon.com/burnbarrel. Otherwise, you can find other places to listen at burnbarrelpodcast.com.
C'est la vie.